If you've ever wanted to be skulking from the shadows and overacting a little bit, then this could be your perfect chance to do so. That's right, I have gone with the Zeitgeist, mostly thanks to one of my wonderful Discord members, and I have made a build so that you too can be Kick Nage from the famous Spider-Noir TV series. Kick Nage is my name for the build. That's not the actual name of the actor. I do know that. Please don't correct me in the comments. Or do. It's good for engagement, and that's always helpful, right? There are a few ways I could have gone about this, but I'm pretty happy with the way I've ended up going about this, and it's also one of the stronger rogue builds I've made, which is, you know, always nice. So, let's get into it. Shall we? Let's go through all of the things we need to go through. That's how a build works. I really don't know what's wrong with me today. My brain's in a very strange place. Maybe somewhere down by my left leg. I really don't know. Anyway, we are starting off with the criminal background. Not that Kick Nage, is a criminal, but it gives us a lot of the same skills you would need as a noir detective-y dude. For us, we've gone for sleight of hand and deception. Stealth is good also. I keep trying to choose stealth. Nothing is letting me choose stealth. I feel like I've picked up stealth from something and not realized where. So that's on me, doing these builds in a weird order. Don't worry about that. Make sure you have stealth in yours. It gives us the alert feat. The better initiative rolls feels really fitting for like a spider sense thing. Being on top of things and being aware of a fight is very fitting thematically. And from a mechanical standpoint, it means you can swap your initiative roll with someone else who might be better suited to going first in a fight. You do generally need allies around to get sneak attack, so keep that in mind. We are, of course, a human. There are spider-themed character species options, thanks to the Crooked Moon, the Thread Silkborn. But it gives us all the spider stuff out the gate, and also then when we're just a spider, it's a bit more fun to just be a human to begin with. Skillful, I've gone for acrobatics. Acrobatics is important. And versatile, because we get 2 origin feats. I've gone for lucky. Again, the ability to make things at advantage or disadvantage feels like a really good way of replicating spider sense in D&D. You also just get so many uses of it. It's fantastic. With our stats, we're starting with an 8 in strength, 17 in dex, 16 in con, 14 in intelligence, 8 in wisdom, and 10 in charisma. It's tricky making a superhero style build in D&D because you do have to drop stats, and most superheroes aren't lacking in stats, generally speaking, so we just have to do our best. As you can see here, the build is going to be primarily rogue, but with some monster hunter features, so we'll go through it as I think you would want to take the levels in the game itself. Kicking things off at level 1, you get your core rogue traits, which gives you a bunch of stuff, including lots of really, really good skill proficiencies. I've gone for investigation. For a noir person, investigation feels very fitting. Persuasion, intimidation, and insight. Our lack of wisdom hurts these a little, but we also get so many skills that it's not that big of an issue. Expertise, I recommend going acrobatics and stealth. They're just very good ones, so consider those, although something like investigation and stealth would also be a good option. Just make sure you take stealth. As a level 1 rogue, obviously the big feature here is sneak attack, which lets us add 1d6 once per turn to an attack roll if we have advantage on the roll and if we're using a finesse or ranged weapon. You don't need advantage, however, if an ally is within 5 feet of the target, as long as the ally is not incapacitated and you don't have disadvantage. You get an extra d6 every other rogue level. If I was building this class for D&D 5.5e and I was looking at the damage it could output, I would probably just make this 1 sneak attack die per level. And you might think that's too strong, but I disagree. So there, I guess. You just get Thieves' Cant at level 1. I've gone for Deep Speech, but you can just choose whatever language you want. And Weapon Masteries, of course. I've gone for the Whip as an almost webbing-based option here, and it also gives us Slow, which feels like a good shout, and then Dart for Vex and also for a ranged attack. Both of these are good. Level 1, expect to be doing all of the standard roguey things where you're just hopping in and hitting someone. The Whip means that you can do your melee still at range, which is a lot better for your survivability, very important. And the Dart means that you can get permanent advantage effectively on a single target if you're throwing darts at them, so just make sure you pick up a few of them. Level 2 is a fantastic one for rogues because you can get Cunning Action, which lets you, as a bonus action, either dash, disengage, or hide. You're usually going to be hiding with this, but disengaging and dashing are both very, very strong when they are relevant. Level 3, we get our subclass, and I am taking the Arachnoid Stalker from Valda's Spire of Secrets. A life-changing event such as being cursed by a Dryder or being bitten by a dangerously transmuted arachnid has imbued you with the abilities of of a spider. This might have changed you physically, but in our case, it just turned you into Nick Cage. So if you didn't already look like Nick Cage, congrats, you look like Nick Cage now. Which version of Nick Cage? I don't know. Maybe the super ripped one that he did for Ghost Rider, which people didn't appreciate, and he said he's never going to do again. It's up to you. We also get steady aim, which allows us to use our bonus action to get advantage on an attack as long as we haven't moved this turn, but it does set our speed to 0 for the turn. Steady aim cannot be overstated in terms of its strength if you're using ranged weapons. So if you're going for something like this, but with a short bow or a long bow, just steady aim. You never need to move. You are a turret of pure destruction, and that is fine. That is steady aim, of course, is a core rogue thing. Let's talk about the special rogue things that we get. Webbing, which allows us to, as a bonus action, and you'll notice at this point we have a lot of bonus actions, which is a trouble rogues have in general. But as a bonus action, we can make silky, sticky threads. The web dissolves after a minute, and when you create the webs, you can use them to do one of the following. You can pull yourself 30 feet in a straight line if you would like, which is cool. You can also use this benefit as a reaction to pull yourself 10 feet in any direction, potentially avoiding a fall. You can manipulate objects like closing doors and things like that. You can just make some rope, which is really, really handy outside of combat. And you can cast web once per long rest as well, which uses your Dex mod as the casting modifier effectively, which is really good because it restrains enemies, which means you get advantage on them. So it's an incredibly efficient way to get sneak attack off. We also get Venomous Strike, which might be one of the strongest boosts to sneak attack you can find. It changes the sneak attack from a d6 to a d8, but it also changes it to poison damage instead of the same damage that your weapon would deal. While poison damage is one that creatures do have a lot of immunities to, if you are not in a campaign filled with undead and fiends, you're generally not going to come up across those as often as you would think, making this pretty potent in those situations. Plus, you can choose whenever you sneak attack. So if it doesn't work the first time, when you do poison damage, you can just switch, which is lovely. Having a damage type also allows us to lean into it a little bit with some really cool feats, which we will get to. Speaking of feats, our first pick is going to be the Poisoner feat, which is... yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag, if I'm being honest. I wish it was better. Poisoner lets us boost our Dex or Intelligence by 1. We're going to boost our Dex to 18 here, which gives us a little bit better chance to hit and more damage as well. It also lets us ignore resistance to poison damage when we do a damage roll that deals poison damage, which is going to up the potency of our venomous strikes substantially. And we get proficiency with the poisoner's kit and we can make a poison. The issue with this poison is the fact that it's just a bit naff, to be frank. The save for this is DC 8 plus Dex plus proficiency, which is standard, and that's fine. The creature takes 2d8 poison damage if they fail the save and become poisoned until the end of your next turn, which is great. The issue is you have to apply it as a bonus action, and it costs 50 gold pieces per doses equal to your proficiency bonus. The problem isn't the application, the problem is that it only lasts for a minute or until you do damage with the item. You cannot just poison one of your weapons outright and just leave it poisoned, which I think is really silly because if you're already spending money on it, I don't see the harm in just letting someone prep, which is what I would do as a DM, frankly. So if you're going to do something like this, do talk to your DM about it. The Poisoner feat is not broken in any way, sense or form. Shape or form? Shape or form. So have a chat with them. Buy them some chocolate. That'd do it for me. Just saying. But even if all it's doing is allowing us to ignore resistance to poison damage, this is still kind of worth it with this build. Now that we have moving up to level 5, we are going to say goodbye to Rogue for a couple of levels while we shift over to Monster Hunter. It would have been super tempting to get this a level earlier, but I hate missing out on that ASI. And while most classes you do want to go to level 5 for before multi-classing, the Rogue does not get extra attack. So we need to force an extra attack, and we're going to do that using them. Monster Hunter is from the Grim Hollow book. It is my favourite third-party class, and I don't think it's close, and it gives us just so many cool things. For starters, it gives us a Monster Grimoire, which lets us get a little bit of bonuses, basically, against 2 monster types of our choice. I've gone for Aberration and Monstrosity because it feels fitting, but take what you want. It also gives us yet more weapon masteries, and I've gone for some from the Grim Hollow Player's Guide. I do not know why it's split between Grim Hollow Player's Guide and normal weapon masteries, and you can only choose the Grim Hollow ones when you're using the Monster Hunter. I think that's incredibly silly. I should probably put a comment on it on somewhere in a D&D Beyond thread because it does feel like it should just be available to everyone, but here we are. We're going to move into using the fighting chains now as our main weapons. The fighting chain, the brutal variant, allows us to crit on a 19 or 20, but not just yet. We need the advanced weapon proficiency, which is a fighting style, which we can take at Monster Hunter level 2, which we're going to take at level 6, but that's getting ahead of ourselves. We're also going to take the Entangling Fighting Chain because it entangles people, which is good. You can use a bonus action to potentially give someone the grappled condition, which is really handy. And again, it fits. If you just reflavor the chains as webs, you're living that Spider-Man dream. We don't have access to the proficiency for these just yet, and we don't have access to what we really want from this class either, which means that as it stands, our damage check-in is a little underwhelming. While we're getting there, and I think that this would still be okay to play, average damage against an AC of 15 is going to be 14.72, including the various sneak attack things. It's not great, but we could theoretically also be poisoning on top of that, which would add an extra 9 points of damage on average, as well as poison condition, which is going to be fantastic. And you're going to be a powerhouse outside of combat as well, thanks to all of the skill proficiencies. So that's worth noting. Level 6 sees us taking level 2 in Monster Hunter. D&D Beyond, for some reason, wouldn't let me choose advanced weapon proficiency previously, but now does. You want advanced weapon proficiency. There are arguments for other fighting styles instead. If you would like to do that, blind fighting is a really, really cool one. It just feels good on a rogue, I think, but so is defense and a bunch of other stuff. I want to be able to use the chains, so I'm going with advanced weapon proficiency. But if you're sticking with standard D&D weapons, you should definitely consider some of the other options. The main thing that Monster Hunter Level 2 gives us, though, isn't the fighting style. It's studied response, which is one of the coolest and most easy to overlook features of any class in the game, I think. You've learned the most effective way to slay a monster is to strike at its most vulnerable area at the right moment. Too early and your attack glances away, and too late and the monster may eviscerate you. When a creature you can see within 60 feet of you targets you or another creature with a melee or ranged attack, you can take a reaction before the attack roll to make one attack with a weapon or unarmed strike against that creature. If the attack misses, you regain your reaction. So this is pretty much a guaranteed extra attack per round, and given that the likelihood is you've got a couple of other allies, you should usually have the chance to sneak attack on this too. So there's going to be a big old boost to our damage when we do the check-in at level 10, but we're not there yet. But that's why we are here. For now, though, we're going to bid adieu to Monster Hunter and go back to Rogue. For level 7 for us, which is going to be Rogue 5. Rogue 5 gives us Cunning Strike, which allows us to trade some of the dice we are using in our damage to potentially poison someone, which we can already do anyway, and it isn't really worth giving up a sneak attack dice for. If you got more of them, it would be better. But it's nice to have the option. You can also potentially trip someone over, or move half your speed. These are not bad things. I love them thematically and mechanically, theoretically, but Rogue's damage is so low that giving up one of those dice is just going to feel bad. You also get Uncanny Dodge, which lets you use your reaction to halve an attacker's damage against you. This is cool, but studied response is better. Why half the damage when you can just finish off a creature that's trying to attack you? Exactly. There's no reason to do so. So, do that. Level 8 for us is going to be Rogue 6, which gives us 2 more expertise. I've gone for Intimidation and Investigation, but pick your favourites. Level 9 for us is Rogue 7, where we get Evasion, which is one of the coolest defensive features in the game. When you make a dex save, you take half damage if you fail, and no damage if you succeed. There's nothing quite like being breathed on by a dragon and just not taking damage from it. Or a Meteor Swarm. It works with that too. You also get Reliable Talent, which means that if you roll an ability check with something that you have proficiency in, any roll of 9 or lower is a 10. Congratulations, you did it. We're going to move up to level 10 now, which is Rogue 8, which means another ASR. I've gone for Iron Hero because it feels really fitting for that superhero character. This lets us boost our dex by 1 up to 19. And along with that, if a creature with a higher CR than our level attacks us, we get an extra 2 to our AC, which is fantastic. Attack rolls against any creature that's reduced an ally to 0 hit points since the end of our last turn will have advantage on that creature, which is nice. And we can take a reaction to intercede against legendary actions. Every time I mention this, I say the same thing. Do talk to your DM about the specific one. This has no range. It needs a range. Make sure it has a range. This is an incredibly potent ability. Sure, you can only do it once per turn, but please talk to your DM about it and sort out the specifics. Level 8 is also, Rogue 8 is also level 10, which means it's time for another damage check-in. At this point, thanks to the reliable second sneak attack that we can assume is happening, I think, relatively fairly, we are now up to 42.95 damage per round, which isn't bad at all. It's not fantastic, but it's certainly a lot higher than it would have been. Level 11, we're going to Rogue 9, which gives us Wall Crawling, finally. I know it would have been nice to get it earlier, but it's fine. This gives us a climb speed equal to our speed. We can hide on the ceiling, which is just wonderful, and we can also move around just using our feet, so we can properly walk on walls, which is incredibly cool if you're going to be attacking from there. Level 12, we get the wonderful bonus ASI that rogues get. I do not know why barbarians don't get an extra feature. I actually don't know that monks need them. Weirdly, monks get a lot of good stuff. Anyway, this isn't about monks. I'm going to be taking Focused Critical. There are other options. Charger is a good one. I like the extra D8 and the other options it offers. And there are plenty of ones that you could take for theme over just min-maxing too. Always worth considering those. Skilled, for example, is a fantastic one. Skilled is not skilled, it's skill expert, sorry, which gives you more expertise if that's what you're after. It's always a good one. You could also go for something else. It's up to you, but for this build, I'm going for Focused Critical. It allows us to crit on a 19 or 20, and normally I talk about, and I think this should stack, the way that Brutal works, the weapon mastery property from the Grim Hollow books, it specifically states that it lowers it again if you've already got a way to lower your crit range, so that literally works with this. Rules as written, which is lovely. It just means we can crit on 18 to 20, which is pretty nice, especially when we've got advantage. It leads to a pretty high crit rate. Also, it takes our dex to 20, which is essential. Level 13 is Rogue 11. We get improved Cunning Strike, which lets us use 2 options if we want to, but we have to pay for both. I've already said that's a high cost for a rogue, so it's cool, but it's probably not something you're going to use a lot. Level 15 is going to be Rogue 13, and I'm going to take Shadow Touched. Shadow Touch lets us boost our Intelligence, Wisdom, or Charisma. I'm going to go with Intelligence. This takes our Intelligence up to 15, which is good. It also lets us get Invisibility for free, along with a Necromancy spell of choice. I've gone for Disguise Self. Illusion or Necromancy, sorry. I've gone for Disguise Self because it just feels like a really good way to have that superhero double life going on, and Invisibility is just really, really good for all of the things that rogues generally want to be doing. I do think Fey Touched for free Misty Step and maybe Bless or something is also a very, very good choice, so consider doing that. Or anything else to boost your intelligence, for reasons which you'll understand shortly. Level 15 is Rogue 13 for us, and this gives us Spider Sense, which allows us to use our reaction on saving throws, not just on attacks, which is nice. Our reaction, there's a lot of stuff vying for our reaction, but it's nice to have options like these. It also means we're up to another damage check-in, and we're up to 72.56 here with the damage, which is not bad. We're also one of the best skill-based classes in the game, and we have a lot of other stuff going for us as well, from a mechanical and roleplay sense, especially if you can do a solid Nick Cage impression, which I cannot do, and I'm not going to try. Level 16, we're going to take Rogue 14, which gives us more Cunning Strike actions. Knockout is 66, which is a lot to ask when you only have 7d6 at this point, so you're probably not going to be using that one, but it can make a target unconscious. Obscure allows you to blind a creature, and Daze allows you to either give a creature the chance to move or take an action or take a bonus action, which is a really, really good one. So that's tempting, but both Daze and Knockout are con saves, which is not a great save to be targeting in general, unfortunately. Our final rogue level is going to be Rogue 17, is going to be level 17 for us, which is Rogue 15, which gives us Slippery Mind, which gives us proficiency in Wisdom and Charisma saving throws, which is a nice boost to our defense overall. Thank goodness for a Slippery Mind. With that, though, our level 18, we're going to hit Monster Hunter level 3, and I like most of the options here. You can make an argument for most of them, apart from the Carver Guild, which is all heavy weapons. But the Trapper Guild is super enticing. It lets you make a bunch of different traps, including things like the ability to craft more poisons, which is lovely because they can stop people regaining hit points. Elemental Ammunition is good if you're going to be using ranged weapons, as they can deal extra damage. The Runic Bomb is an interesting way to change damage types. Scorpion Anchor can be a good way to restrain creatures. Terrain Cloak is good for stealth. And the Were Trap is a nice little bit of damage, which you can actually throw at creatures as well, and technically sneak attack with, which is incredibly interesting. Actually, weirdly, the Were Trap might be one of the best rogue weapons around, as it does 3d10 bludgeoning damage. But hey, you'd have to make a bunch of them, but they don't get broken after a long rest, so If you have a bunch of long rests ahead of you, consider making the Wear Trap, as it's a fantastic choice. Level 19 is going to be Monster Hunter level 4 for us, and we do want an epic boon in this one. We want the Boon of Poison Mastery. Boon of Poison Mastery allows you to increase an ability of your choice. We're going to boost our intelligence to 16 here. It gives us immunity to the poison damage and the poisoned condition, but most importantly, once per turn, not per round, but per turn, when we deal poison damage to a creature from an attack, spell, or feature, you can instead just use the highest number possible. If you can sneak attack twice, and both of those sneak attacks have poison damage instead of normal damage, that adds up pretty darn quickly. So, yay. Our final level is going to be Monster Hunter level 5, and let me tell you, as a capstone, this is much better than the turning one dice into a nat 20 once per short or long rest, and I don't think it's close. Expert Strike allows us to add our intelligence modifier to both our attack and damage rolls for both our weapons and unarmed strikes, which adds 3 to both, pushing us into levels of accuracy of which most classes simply cannot access, especially if we have advantage. And we also get some more weapon masteries. I've gone for the disarming fighting chain. You can do whatever you want. Give him a gun. Why not? See if you can get an antimatter rifle at this level. I'd let you have it. Maybe your DM will too. The most important thing is that now that our enemy AC is assumed to be 21 for the damage check-in, we only need a 7 or higher to hit because we have a massive plus 14 to our chance to hit, and that is with no magic items. If you have a plus 3 weapon at this point, which you should have, you'd only need a 4 to hit an AC of 21, which is just the coolest thing. This means that we are doing an average of 166.71 damage per round, which is amazing. And if you can get advantage on your studied response, that actually goes up to 193.87 because it makes you a lot more likely to hit, as it turns out, even though you're not unlikely to hit in the first place. I think this is the strongest rogue I've made. It's also the most Nick Cageiest one, and that has to count for something, right? Right. But that is all for this fun little build video. I hope you enjoyed it. I want to give a shout out to my channel members. You mean a massive amount to me. I really appreciate your support. It just makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. And that's Asda Price. What is my brain doing? I think I just work too much and don't get enough sleep. Anyway, if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. I will at some point leave a note in my notes to do this whole call to action thing earlier in the videos, but apparently not today. I hope that you're doing well and continue to do well, and that your week is good and fun ahead of you. I have a lot of cool videos coming up, and I hope that you enjoy them. Thursdays is going to be one about Rangers, because I just feel like there's just no videos talking about Rangers, and I just wish there were videos talking about Rangers. Why aren't there any? It's very odd. Yeah. This one's going to be specifically about the Hollow Warden, though, and how it interacts with the core class, and how the fixes are, at best, smoke and mirrors, unfortunately. But yeah. Check that out on Thursday. I'm going to point you to 2 other videos. What should we do? Should we do the Shadow Monk, the Cthulhu Monk? Because that was really, really cool, but that was before I changed the way I do my damage numbers. And maybe something else. I was going to do the Poison Ranger, but I didn't. Maybe we could do the something else here. I don't know. I'll see what ends up going there. It might be one of the ones YouTube chooses for you. It knows better than I do anyway, let's be honest. Anyway, with that done, do take care. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.